Here we are for another episode. Welcome all you lovely people at home, listening or watching online. Here we are talking to Craig, good friend again from the CrossFit world, but also an amazing coach and father. We're going to be talking today, as always, about how fitness helps us, how we use fitness, how we have busy lives, and any other fun stuff that might come up.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah. So we were chatting before we started recording about your start to your sporting career was quite young. And now just tell us, so now you've used that and now how you're filling that time a bit more now with your competitive edge and some other things.
Yeah, I think you kind of get to a certain age where you look back and you've played a competitive sport most of your life. So I played football and I played tennis and I played badminton. They're probably the three sports that I played the most competitively. And you just kind of take it for granted through your teens and into my 20s. And I think I played my last game of football in 2009. Hurt my medial ligament in my knee. I was like, right, that's enough. Because I was tennis coaching full time as well. So any football injury and I was screwed, couldn't then work. But you do all these sports and it kind of just takes care of your competitive needs. And then my work is in sport. Rupert said earlier, I'm a coach, but I'm a tennis coach. I've got my tennis top on. So I kind of get that from tennis coaching, and I'd probably be living that competitiveness stuff through the people that I coach, but it's not the same as doing it like yourself. So I've probably had two periods in my life. One was 10 years ago where I just thought I was approaching 40 because I'm 50 next year.
Oh, congrats.
Next year, yeah. So I was approaching 40 and I was like, right, I need to do something. So I'm going to run. So I just got running, right into my running. I entered some 10K races, did a 10-mile race, was supposed to do a half marathon, but got injured and didn't do it. But I did that for a couple of years and it was gave me really good direction. It took care of me being competitive because I like setting a personal best. I like noting like my times and stuff down so that I can try and beat it.
Yeah, you're good with data.
I like numbers, yeah. So I did that. And then now, more recently, in the last few years, it would be, joining New Wave 5 years ago now, coming up to. Having always gone to the gym and stuff, but I just then enjoy how I can try to better myself with new exercises that I couldn't do before and still can't do. I still have the goal of a muscle up before I'm 50, but I've kind of put that to one side for a little bit because I've been doing other training. But I just enjoy the in-house competitions and stuff like that. And I've done Summer Social a couple of times, did Turf Games last year. And just by doing a few of those events here and there, it just gives me a bit of direction and it takes care of my sort of competitiveness. I can then after working up to a competition like that, I can then have a few months where I just chill and then maybe look for the next one. But otherwise, I wouldn't be doing anything for me,
right,
if I didn't do that. So that's been really important. It's kind of replacing what I used to do as a kid and still finding something that I can do now that's competitive that just takes care of like those needs that I have.
Sure. Now, to kind of put you on the spot a little bit though, some people are going to be, maybe who might be listening to this might be like, well, then he clearly did lots of sport when he was a kid. Like, why should I bother like joining now or doing anything now? Have you got anything to say to anyone that might have that thought?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I played a lot of sport when I was younger. So that's a kind of a given, but then going into and then training and I didn't train in a gym and stuff like that when I was playing the sport when I was younger. I was just a kid. But the amount of people that I've come across who I now might train with that don't really have a sporting background at all, but have like done an incredible job of just transforming their well-being and sort of how they're feeling about themselves and their appearance by going into, and not necessarily just a commercial gym, because I think I personally wouldn't want to go to a commercial gym anymore. That's me personally. There's plenty you can get from it, but I think being in a class environment does something different. There's a community around you. It helps where if maybe you are a little bit lower in confidence, you've got people around you to like pick you up and give you a push and give you a nudge. So I think that environment is really good. I think for people that maybe haven't done much health and fitness in their life or played much sport but want to get fit and healthy, going to the gym on their own could be pretty tough. I can imagine that being quite tough. I don't know what you think.
No, I imagine it is quite tough, and it is. And I think one of the benefits of why we love New Wave and we love CrossFit is the class environment. But also what you made me also just realise then as well is that I've known you for so long as well, but you've always just been so, everyone there, we pick each other up and we can see how everyone's doing. And after doing a few years, okay, some of it is still just hellos and how's it all going.
Yeah.
But you do get a sense of like, as you were saying, you see people change.
Yeah.
So we know it works.
Oh,
we can see the results,
and physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And for me, yes, there are physical gains. I like to feel good and I like to look good as I can.
And you like to beat people at box jumps like me.
Box jumps, yeah. Well,
you're very good at box
jumps.
There's
the scar from shinning it once, as we've all done.
So you do it for that, and then your other bit was there's physical gains, and then there's the mental health.
Well, the mental gains. So I know I've got a 3 to 4 day threshold where if I haven't done some exercise, I start to dip in my mood. And it's taken me a while to recognise that and know that. Because up until 4.5 years ago, I physically coached tennis 35 hours a week. So that's 8 hours a day on a tennis court, coaching tennis. That was what I did.
Right.
So
tell me the story.
So 25 years of coaching tennis.
And that would be what? Anybody? Like a businessman or a housewife or what?
Some, but generally elite, elite junior, sort of national, international players.
But still, you're there hitting the balls back, hitting the balls.
So in an 8 hour day, 4 of those hours, I'm physically playing tennis. I couldn't even picture trying to do it now. And then I came off the court and have 3 different roles now where I still do play a bit of tennis. I'm fully in tennis, but I don't have to knock out the 35 hours a week of getting paid by the hour. The roles that I've got now, which we can come back to, means I don't do that physical exertion every single day.
Yeah.
So I didn't probably have the need quite so much to go and run or go to the gym because I was doing exercise nearly every day. But I've suddenly realised over the last, I would say 2 years, it's a 3 to 4 day threshold before my mood drops. And I will need to do something, whether it's go out for a run, make sure I'm doing a class, or if I'm away on holiday, like we just did a little short family break up on the coast in Southwold. We did 5 nights, so I had 5. There were 5 mornings where I could go and run, and I ran 3 mornings down by the beach. I did the same thing back in July and August because I haven't got my gym to go to, so I need to go and do something. And whilst you're on holiday and relaxing, if my wife and I just literally do a week of just relaxing, it is not relaxing for us.
And because also you're a busy dad. You're my old catchphrase, but still a good catchphrase. Yeah. So you're a father of 2.
I am a father of 2 now.
And take us back to that beach running. So how did you integrate for those busy dads now? It's like, so busy dads, they're getting some workouts in, they're going on holiday, and it can be quite daunting. Go on holiday, sometimes it's all inclusive, and you just think, right, I'm never going to do any exercise. We've made, and then I even had someone message me and say like, why are you training on holiday? It's not a holiday. And it's like, no, this is like good time to train. But it's
not a chore to us. Yeah. It's not a chore to me to train. Occasionally, we all drag ourselves to the gym on the day when we don't really want to do it. And I'm telling you now, it's those sessions that you feel the most reward from when you didn't really want to go.
Yeah.
We've all done it, and we've done the session, and we feel so much more fulfilled at the end of it. And you almost have to just push through that. It's not a chore to train. But as I said, to go on a week's holiday, there can be a mental rest because the phone gets turned off. The last 2 holidays, I've turned the phone off. So I can't see any messages that might come through on work. I don't have a separate work phone, but I'm going to get one. So I turn the phone off. So there's a mental switching down, but I can't put my feet up for 7 days anyway with 2 children under 4. But that's not rest for us. Like, I will feel worse at the end of the week if I haven't done some exercise. And it's not a chore for me to go and do it. And obviously you need a supportive family. So I have a very supportive wife on it as well. She knows. I mean, only the other week, it was 7:45 on a Monday night, and we've got this family plan of when are my training windows and when are hers. And it was a Monday night, and I'm supposed to go for a run. And it was 7:45, and for whatever reason, I hadn't gone for a run, and we weren't having dinner just yet. And I'm sitting on the sofa, and she said to me, "You haven't gone for your run." I was like, "No, you're right." I was kind of, wasn't sure if I could be bothered. And she said, "Go for your run."
That's amazing.
I was like, okay. But she knows that she's dragged me off the sofa. And I've done the same thing for her this week, where, like, do you want to go you can use your gym slot Tuesday night? Oh, I'm not sure. No, just go to the gym. So the agreement is we go and pick up our little boy from preschool on a Tuesday night. We get home, my wife goes straight off to the gym. I bath both kids, do bedtime, stories, milk,
Amazing.
bed every Tuesday night, and she goes to the gym. And then on a Wednesday night, we rush to, like, I try and get the 3.5-year-old into bed by 6:45. He's very good at going to bed. So sorry to you parents out there that don't have children that are good at going to bed. I'm really sorry, but he will go to bed. And then I know I can leave the house to go and make my class at 7. No, my wife's only got the 6-month-old to put to bed, who, again, I'm really sorry, is equally just as good
You're
at
lucky.
going to bed. So I'm sorry, like, you're strangled me. So you've got to have a supportive family. So what we tried to do is, particularly on this holiday just gone, I ran 3 mornings between 5K and 8K. And each morning the agreement was that I got the 3.5-year-old dressed, because he can be a bit of a pain just getting dressed. Got him dressed, made everyone their breakfast, left the apartment at about 8. My wife would feed the baby, and then she'd give me at least 20 minutes before they walked down to the beach, which was 10 minutes away. I'd have got a decent run in, and then they would meet me down on the promenade. And they did it 3 mornings. They met me down there. The little boy, he runs up to me, have a hug. Then he wants to run with me, so we do some running together. And then we stretch together. He's doing calf stretches and quad stretches, and we do it together. So I've had my kind of, I don't know, selfish time where I need to go and run. And then my little boy looks forward to then coming and meet me, and then he has a little run with me. So
it's just brilliant.
That works. That works. But again, you do need a supportive partner.
But I also think, though, as a parent as well, you're leaning into routine. So sometimes dads get scared when they have little babies and stuff of the routine. They get scared of the regimented 4 hours feeding and the sleeping and the nappy changes and all of that. But if you have fitness or you build fitness into that routine, like you've done so well there, it works perfectly for the regimented times, you know, and it like can actually help you stay on structure and get like some goals and things like that as well.
Well, we look, we're quite an organised family, like, for sure. Like my wife is probably more organised than me, and I'm well organised. So we have a plan. Monday night I run. Tuesday night I do bath, bed, stories, milk. She goes to the gym. Wednesday night I try and get the 3.5-year-old into bed. I go to Hyrox training at 7. Thursday morning, my wife will go to the gym, and I will try and squeeze in a session, which we both did this morning. And then that's probably it. I may cheekily get a Friday morning conditioning in if I'm lucky before we go to gymnastics all together and do our set Friday morning. But because I also don't have set work hours, and that's something that's really important here, because I don't go to work at 7 a.m. and get home at 6 or 7 at night. I can't relate to that. And many people obviously do have to do that and probably have to train in their lunch times or do 6 a.m. classes or go to the gym after work. So I get it. I do have windows during the day where I can do it because there's flexibility with the work. But we have that set routine. It's very tough for me to go and train on the weekend, and I absolutely gutted that I can't be at New Wave on a Saturday. But it's just not fair. it's not fair for my wife to be at home with the 2 children for a couple of hours on her own when she's had them in the week.
Oh yeah, because it always ends up being a couple hours. It takes you 15 minutes to get there.
And at the moment, the A3, it's a lot longer than bloody 15 minutes.
And then you have a coffee, and then you want to, and then you're like, oh gosh, and then, but no, I know totally about that. So tell us a bit when you went from the 38 hours a week coaching, right? This before, obviously, you had a young family, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So how did you drive yourself? How did you, so the 35 hours a week transitioning over to your coaching role that you're doing now, right? There must have been like some real go-get 'em scary moments during all of that.
Yeah, well, for sure. So I basically, I went to work for the governing body, and it was very much to be in my car driving into another region and visiting coaches and centres and clubs. So I lived off of petrol station sandwiches, meal deals. I don't eat crisps in the week. They are my Achilles heel, is crisps. Not chocolate, savoury snacks, crisps.
Well, how many bags though for those like?
Oh, so now I will scarcely have one on the weekend.
But you could eat a multi-pack.
No. It has to be kettle chips.
Oh wow! Okay, nice ones.
No, kettle chips. And if Victoria's listening as well, I know that Victoria loves her kettle chips as well, because we've had a conversation about flavours. No, so I can't have them in the house because I just, that's my thing. So, but taking this job and being in the car, picking up lunch on the go, doing a meal deal. Meal deal is a sandwich, then it's a pack of crisps, but yeah, you could choose fruit and a drink. And I was literally having those most days, and I got to my heaviest, which is not crazy, but it was too heavy for me to feel comfortable in my body, and 2, to be able to train and do what I want to do. Start to feel sluggish. So that was a massive change. And I wasn't doing 8 hours a day of being on a tennis court. I was sitting in a car and talking to coaches and watching them coach and meeting with people and sitting and not physically doing the coaching. So there's a massive 25 years of my body doing one thing of playing tennis every day, and then not doing it. My weight went up quite quick. And after about 3 months, I was like, right, okay, no, this has to stop. And that was in April 2019 that I took that role. And then actually it was, I had just joined New Wave a few months previous, fortunately, and for various reasons actually. And the main one was socially, because we moved into Cobham. I'm from Kent, and moved into Cobham, moved into the area, and we've lived in Cobham now 12 years. And I didn't really know anyone at all.
Didn't know that.
Didn't know anyone until I joined New Wave in 2018.
I had no idea that you'd partly joined New Wave, not knowing barely anyone in the area.
No anyone. So I'm from Kent, and my wife is from Surrey, and she took a job in Surrey. I was living in Kent, she was living in Surrey. We were seeing each other, well, we weren't married at that time. We were seeing each other like 2-3 times a week. Well, she was in Surrey, I was in Kent. That was it. And I was like, okay, I still had my coaching set up in Kent, but we rented in Cobham in 2011 for a year to trial it, because it was good access for the M25. My wife worked at Fox Hills at Junction 11.
Oh, nice.
She was a gym manager. So 2011 to 2019, I drove back to Kent 4 or 5 days a week for my work. But then we bought a house in 2012 in Cobham, and I literally knew no one. I couldn't walk down the street in Cobham and recognise anyone apart from a footballer.
Yeah.
Jamie Redknapp, I'm not going to say, say hi to him too often, or Scott Parker, whose parents lived opposite us actually at one point. But I didn't know anyone. That was, but it wasn't the end of the world, because I was going back to Kent 4 or 5 days a week. But it was like on the weekend, I could walk into Cobham and get a coffee or whatever. And I wouldn't see anyone that I knew. So we had friends around Surrey, but just not in Cobham. And it got to a point where clearly it was bothering me, because my wife had people that she knew around the area because of her work at Fox Hills as well. And I didn't know anyone. So it was my wife that went on actually and searched CrossFit gyms, because my friends had started doing CrossFit and I didn't even know what it was. I was going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week, just again, commercial gym. And she looked at it, she sourced it for me. She booked the taster. Off I went, November the 29th, 2018. Dan Dan, who doesn't work at New Wave anymore, was my taster session coach, and it turns out I was his first taster to have in. So he was nervous, like just making sure that he gave a good experience, and I was nervous because I didn't know what I was getting into. And I turned up, and I was just like, I sat there, and I'm really conscious when people are in for their taster, because I sat there in my first taster, and I was just like, shit, like there's some strong people here, and more the ladies than the guys. Like what they were deadlifting. I remember the session. I remember it vividly, and what they were deadlifting. I was like, Jesus. And now whenever I see a taster, someone comes in for a taster, like it's been quite often, I end up speaking to that person like after the end of the session.
So do I.
I don't want them to be like, oh my God, I can't. It's like, it's just, I always say to them, this will be the best thing you've ever done if you give this a couple of months and get into the routine. I promise you. But I bet there are lots of people that come along with the first once or twice, and then maybe they don't sign up, which is a real shame, because it could be quite a tough session, or you don't know what session you're signing up to, do you? And I remember messaging Fraser during the lockdown in 2020, where obviously it was a really tough time for him, because I remember him priding himself on never closing. He'd been open for 700 and whatever days, and then had to close the gym and lock it up one day, which was really tough. And I remember messaging him, and my message to him, it will still be on the phone, was just something like what New Wave means to me. And I let him know that it was like not only going and having my fitness needs taken care of, or having a coach that checked in with me. It was walking into a coffee shop in Cobham and seeing someone that was a member there, part of the community, and being able to say hi. Or having more like friends that I was in contact with via social media at the time, who had something in common with me. So there was a whole like host of things that New Wave just opened up for me, and it was being able to walk down the street and see several people that I'd be able to say hi to, or be in the coffee shop, or be in Fago's having a cheeky brunch, or whatever. Or like now I'm working from home, I can literally will just take my laptop sometimes to cop a coffee or go and sit in the snug area at New Wave. And work for 2 or 3 hours and know that I'm going to see some people.
Yeah, you
Otherwise
also do the classic thing that I do, which is sometimes you just want to go there. So like I take Ella sometimes when we're like lost for something to do, and there's no classes for her to do, but we sometimes just go down, say hello to everyone, because you also feel like if you don't keep in touch as well, that community aspect.
Anyway, I take Louis.
I see you all the time.
I take Louis down. I mean, for everyone, like, so Louis and I will go down, we'll play table tennis.
Yeah.
He'll go on the rings because, that boy will get a muscle up before me. He starts, throwing himself on the rings, and love that. But whenever I take him down there, he always says to me, Daddy, where's Trevor? Now, Trevor, like, for weeks, had to play table tennis with Louis along the benches. And now when Louis goes down, he'll say, where's Trevor?
Oh.
And Trevor's not there. And the other week I messaged Trevor to say, by the way, you've been asked for. So it's a really nice thing. Like Louis will associate that place, and I hope he does, CrossFit Kids one day and stuff like that. But yeah, I can take Louis down there, and I don't need to go and train, but we can go and see the horses, we can play a bit of table tennis and just check in and see people. It's just, it's familiar, isn't it?
Yeah, it really adds that extra value. So, coaching. So what is this? So now also though, some of the glamorous parts of it, you do manage to travel a fair bit.
Yeah, so I mean, life has changed.
Yeah. So tell us what you are actually doing if you want to share.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the last few years, life has changed massively. Because one now I've got 2 children, and all of a sudden I've found myself doing what I've always dreamt of doing. So I've got 3 jobs, which I'm kind of juggling, but don't worry, I'm not doing like a night shift and this and, then getting up and doing it. It's not that kind of like I'm juggling 3 jobs and it's really tough, but I've got 3 roles, which means I can get pulled in 3 different directions. So my sort of stable role is like a 24 hours a week salaried Kent County Performance Manager. So I run sort of like the elite county training programs for the players back in Kent, county team selections, competing against other counties and competitions. So engaging with other coaches and clubs around the county. So even though I'm in Surrey, and I can do a lot of that remotely, and I can do that job wherever I am in the world, which is fantastic because, the other role that a lot of you may know, I coach Alfie Hewitt, OBE. I'm just going to add that in there because he got his OBE on Tuesday.
Amazing.
So he was a massive thing for him. So I've worked with him now for just over 18 months, and he's number 2 in the world at the moment. Hopefully we'll finish the year number 1. Multiple Grand Slam champion, and probably his profile in this last 18 months has gone like through the roof, like becoming a bit more of a household name. So I now travel with him for all the Grand Slams. So that was Australia for 3 weeks at the start of the year. Then it's France for a week and a half every May, June. Then there's the Wimbledon and Queens, and then New York for US Open in September. That every year, plus other events. Go to Barcelona with him in a few weeks for 2 weeks.
Wow.
So incredible, because I'm now working with this proper like elite athlete. I'm getting to be part of his journey and on the grandest stages of all in tennis. The wheelchair events are held at exactly the same time as the able-bodied events. It's televised now almost as much because Sky Sports have taken on tennis, and they're going to really drive wheelchair tennis, and it's become quite a spectacle, and I'm very grateful to be able to be part of that at the moment. So here we are in just over three and a half years. I've got 2 children. I'm now traveling, and my poor wife, what that means for her, that's 3 weeks in Australia every January.
But tell us about the first time you were offered Australia, because I know this was a really tough choice. It's like, as a father and as a coach, like you had one of the hardest decisions.
It was really tough.
Coach, father, and husband.
Well, and you know that's the thing, and I don't mind saying. I've actually been speaking to a therapist this year. I've had about 5 or 6 sessions with her because I was actually struggling with various things, and that's exactly what I was struggling with. I was struggling with being a good father, a good husband, and being able to juggle the 3 roles that I had, albeit one of the roles being a lot smaller. The other 2 roles, I'm not being demanded of, but I've got a good job. I've got to do a good job in those 2 roles.
Yeah, we always want to do a good job.
And probably being the good husband probably was the one that I felt like I wasn't doing as well as I could, but it's just because we were both just like ships in the night, raising a family, and I'm off traveling. But yeah, that Australia decision was massive. And again, because my wife was a tennis player, she was a world-ranked player, and so she knows like what's required in training. She knows what commitment is required from a coach, and also we've got very, very lucky again to say that we've both got both of our parents fit and healthy and are able to pull together and help us, because that's massive.
But what was tell everyone the main decision that happened? This was the first time you'd been invited.
Yeah, to go to Australia, and basically, but I couldn't just make the decision
but what was
on
happening?
my own.
Something really big was happening exactly the same time.
So having the baby.
Yeah. So he was offered. You were offered to go to Australia right as the baby was due.
30. So I would have come back when she was 33 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 30 to 33.
So she was born before you went.
No. So the baby was born on the 9th of March, and I got back from Australia on the 29th of January. But when I was in Australia, my wife would have been 30 to 33 weeks pregnant.
Yes, that was it, right.
So big, having to deal with a very lively, almost 3-year-old, and me going off to sunnier climates for 3 weeks, working, but massive decision, not one that could be taken lightly. Lots of conversations with my wife, and I pretty much had her full support all the time. Probably a couple of times where she wavered a little bit, concerned, but again, we planned it. Her parents live 15 to 20 minutes away from us, and we'd planned how much they were going to be able to help.
And you even spoke to Alfie.
Yeah.
You were proper weighing it up.
Fully open to me not going to Australia if I couldn't. but at the same time, absolutely wanted me there because he hadn't won the Australian Open before, never won it.
And he did win it.
And he won it and didn't even drop a set. So it was amazing.
And that's because you were there.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, to try and be home during Australia, it means me doing voice calls with him in the middle of my night, or be up in the middle of the night to watch his match so that I could then review it with him the next day. It's not going to work.
But also just let us into a little slice of what it is like when you're on tour. Let's call it tour, or like like where you're more than just, you're a coach. Talk about a coach for an athlete.
Yeah.
What is that bond and relationship like?
So I mean, there's obviously the tennis side of things, which is full on, and that's, you know, where I'm trained in. So, but then there's the relationship with Alfie, and that's really important because Alfie's going to spend a number of weeks away with me or his team in a year. You've got to get on. And that's the one thing we get on really well. He completely respects me. Apparently what he likes the most is how direct I am with everything. I can call him out on things and be there to help him as a person, a lot actually, as a person and as an athlete. And that bond and relationship is so key because we literally will spend probably 7:30 every morning until 8:30 every night together. That is the day. So yes, I stay in 5-star hotels. Yes, all my food is taken care of and I can eat like a king and I can eat really well. Yes, I have gym facilities available to me if I can find the time to use it. And yes, I'm in some pretty nice places. You know, Melbourne's a pretty good city. New York, not my favorite really anymore, but pretty good, decent place to be. Paris, yeah, pretty good. So I'm in really good places, but I literally see nothing. I see nothing. So in Paris, you know, we're right at the foot of the Eiffel Tower, so I can see that, and I maybe get a run in. In New York, I don't sightsee or see anything at all. Melbourne, we did get out and walk a little bit.
But New York, your diary was slammed. You were there for like 7 days.
So 11 days in New York.
2 days of travelling.
Yeah, so travelling out there, travelling back.
And wasn't it really hot in New York?
It was hot, it was humid, so they had to enforce the heat rule. And the heat rule for wheelchair players is about 35 degrees, but it's also on humidity because some of the wheelchair players can't sweat because of their condition. So because some of them can't sweat, it's really unsafe for them to play in that heat. And this year, New York had to enforce the heat rule, which means they don't play when it hits that temperature or that humidity. So you look, it is lavish. There's nice things, but I am working.
But draw it back in for me onto that. Like, if you're now for say like an athlete or someone who's stepping up their game, want to take a sport seriously. Like, I mean, I can't. I mean, the only way I can relate is that sometimes when we go to these things like Summer Social or any of these turf competitions, you feel just from looking over, for example, at turf. When I looked over at turf, it was the last round of the day, and I looked over and there was like Tammy and a few other people, and just that bond alone is having just a few of your friends in the crowd.
Oh, it's massive.
I can't even imagine what it was like as a player to make that decision for like to like say, no, coach, you can stay home, but also desperately want to say, actually, I want you to really come with me.
Yeah, he fully understands. And there is another coach in the team, Ben, who is kind of Alfie's at home coach because Alfie's from Norwich.
Sure.
So Ben will see Alfie a couple of days a week, kind of works under my guidance kind of thing, but we're working together.
But I meant more like hypothetically, like, what is it like to be coached, like, or to coach somebody?
Yeah. Well, it's massively rewarding, but I go through every single emotion. And sometimes, so this year at the US, I mean, I'll come back to Wimbledon in a minute, but this year at the US, I sat there for the first round I hate, even though he ends up winning it like 6-1, 6-2. It's someone that's beaten him before. I hate it because you just want to get the tournament up and running and you know that the player needs a good performance under their belt. And then all the training that you've just done for the last 5 or 6 weeks, it's now just about this event. And then sitting there for the semi-final, he played unbelievable. So I never got nervous once. But then in the final, you're sitting there and, in New York, they're not the biggest crowds. But in Wimbledon this year, almost full court number one, 10,000 people watching the doubles and 8,000 people watching the singles final and him losing. and then picking up the emotion at the end of that. There were tears. There were a lot of tears, and there's a lot of heartache around that because he's got to wait 12 months to do it again. But basically what I always say to him is that we win together and we lose together. And I've said to him on only a few occasions, because he doesn't actually lose that much, but when he does lose, probably my go-to is, sorry that we weren't good enough today.
We weren't good enough today.
Like, it's so key.
Yeah.
Like, it's powerful. It's really important that they're just not words, that he knows that when he's out there, we do the game plan, we watch the videos of the opponent, we set the strategy, we watch video footage, we go out there and he goes and does it. And there's been a couple of times this year where the game plan didn't work, and it has to be, sorry that we weren't good enough, we're going to get better. And we go away and try and find a way. Because with an athlete like Alfie, like any top athlete, like, he's like the top 2 tennis players in the universe in a wheelchair. It's like, it's pretty elite. So with him, coming second isn't good enough. And there always has to be a reason why he came second, and a solution, and then a plan before we go and do it again. And it's constant. So I've never felt pressure. I've had juniors that I've coached in the past playing in the national finals or playing internationally or whatever, and done long trips to India, South Africa, back years ago. Long trips with players where I'm with teenagers, and I felt emotion when I'm watching them, but nothing like sitting there. Also knowing that I'm on TV and I've got people messaging me like, smile. I'm like, well,
I don't want to.
I don't know when the camera's on me, and I'm not really going to smile. I'm just being, this is my serious face.
So to bring that home to maybe somebody watching this, and to somebody struggling at the moment, who maybe, and the reason why I really want to do this podcast as well now, and how it's kind of spurred off of this online coaching thing, is this more meant to be to share strength and hope for people about mental health, about fitness, about parenting, but maybe not exclusively parenting, but and without making it too, maybe I'm putting you on the spot or making it cheesy, but the relationship of having a coach or a PT, if you're trying to do something, obviously I know some of the times where I've changed the most in my training and my fitness has been where I've been under a lot of pain, but I've turned that pain into strength.
Yeah.
But equally, a lot of the time, we get some really great coaching down at New Wave, and we are surrounded by, even yourself, like, you don't realize how much you pick me up on days, and you've seen me change massively.
Yeah.
But just really, like, what do you think about if someone could, should they think about getting,
I mean, it's actually something I've been thinking more about myself recently, because I am the coach. So I give all the time as a coach to Alfie or anyone else I'm coaching. And then I don't then particularly take care of me, but I need coaching as well. So over the years, there have been individuals that I've struck a good bond with that have supported me more than what they realise. And the power that a coach has, if a coach doesn't realise how much power they have, then they need to quickly, because once they realise how much power they have, they can make a massive difference to individuals. So for something I've been thinking about more and more recently is, I know, and your thing about the whole busy dads thing. You and I have spoken about that. Like what Ali's doing right now. Like, oh my God, how much do I want to be a part
of Calm and Chaos?
Of Calm and Chaos.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I'm probably thinking about it like every week at the moment, but I can't. One, I'm already paying a membership to be at New Wave, and I'm doing as much as I can, and I'm busy with what I'm doing work-wise. I couldn't warrant the expenditure right now to go and do that. But it's more about just having that person in my corner, like I am for Alfie, in my corner, just making me accountable and being the one that's going to check in with me. There's been times over the years where I've had a couple of occasions when New Wave coaches have checked in with me just with a message. I think once was more through lockdown to check in with members. That was a great thing.
Yeah.
But when I received those 2 messages, just checking in with me, that meant a lot to me. And I know we all do it with each other. I know I've checked in with you.
Yeah.
100%. At times when you've spoken about, and I actually had a couple of members this year, and one this year and one last year, that sent me a message to check in that I was okay. and I actually wasn't great, but I didn't realise it was coming across. But they checked in with me, and when I received those messages, it was based on a conversation that I'd had with them, and they just didn't feel like something was right. But I then thought back to that conversation thinking, well, the only thing I can think of is I did have my laptop open and I'd been working on emails, and then I was having this chat with this person in the coffee shop. And at that time, I don't feel like I was carrying massive baggage, but she sensed something and reached out to me later that evening to check that I was okay because I didn't seem myself. That meant loads, because even in that moment, I didn't think I was struggling massively. It clearly came across that I wasn't being myself. And that is one of the things that triggered me to speak to a therapist about. I basically started making notes in my phone, Rupert, about what I was noticing about myself. And I felt like I spoke to my wife a bit about it, but I needed just to speak to someone I didn't really know about it and just talk about how I was struggling a little bit to juggle this, juggle that, and be the good husband and be the good dad and be the good coach and the this and that. And I've told Alfie as well, because I mean, when you get told at 6 or 7 years old that you've got to be in a wheelchair for the next number of years, like Alfie was, he knows what it's like to have dark moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think to have someone that is just going to be there in your corner is really key. And it doesn't have to be an expense, as in it doesn't have to be a coach, because there is an expense to that. Coaches can do things out of the kindness of their heart, of course. But at the end of the day, that's their job. They've got a job to do and they've got to pay the bills. But I also, one of my friends at New Wave, Ilaria, we during lockdown and just after it, we checked in with each other because we spoke quite a bit about how we felt physically, and we actually kind of became each other's accountable buddy.
Accountability.
Yeah.
I ruined that. Accountability. No.
No, take two. Go.
Accountability buddy.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly that.
Yeah.
And we checked in with each other for a few months, and we check in with each other anyway. But there was a time when I said to her, look, let's do this together, because we're struggling a little bit, like not happy where we are physically and what have you. So we checked in with each other, which was good. But yeah, I mean, back to Ali again, I just feel so motivated by obviously him and his story and everything. It's great. But it doesn't have to be someone you've got to pay. It can be someone that's a friend or someone that's at your gym that actually you can just reach out to and try and train together once a week, or go for a run together or a walk. Go and do it with someone. How about during lockdown when we did training buddies and we did running buddies? I ran with several different people, which was really sociable, really nice, and trained with Stephen every week in a park with our dumbbell and what have you, with a program that had been set for us. So I think it's really tough to do it on your own, and particularly initially for those first few months. To get you've got to get the motivation to go and do it. Then you've got to stick at it for those first few months. And then it's just to make this a life kind of change, a lifestyle change, and make fitness a regular part of what you do in your week. It is more fun with friends.
Yeah.
And we have, bundles of friends, don't we, at New Wave?
And I mean, the group and the class mentality definitely just fulfills that. And I do think that it's a funny one, because it's like the last place you'd want to do is a group class if you're feeling isolated, scared and alone. But actually, once you get into that barrier, I mean, the stats that I've been hearing recently from a new role that I'm doing is just that people that engage with personal training or people that engage with classes, are 80% more likely to stay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But only 20% of those people join in those classes. So only 20% of a group of members will join a class or do PT. But of those 20%, 80% of those people will stay consistently training all the time.
I mean,
that's a good one, isn't it?
It's really interesting. Are you going to freeze it?
I just want to check it's still going. It's still good.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it earlier, about when people come for their trial. Because when people turn up for a trial or a class, you turn up 10 minutes before. So you see the other class and you sit there and you watch the other class and you go, even if you've been doing it for, you think, oh shit, that looks tough. Because by the last 10 minutes, everyone's red-faced, absolutely dripping, laying on the floor, bent over, breathing. And you're like, oh God. And you're in your relaxed state and you now know that you're about to go and do this. And that's if you train. You're still like, okay, that looks spicy. But once you're in it, you go at your own pace. No one is calling you out at all on anything. You literally go at your own pace. I enjoy the paired workouts as well as a change up, but you literally go at your own pace. But I do think when people turn up for that first session and they watch the end of the session before, their butterflies will increase. But once you get into the session and you do it, they will go. They will go, and you've got to come back and do it again. I mean, that video the other day with Ingrid doing her first rope climb.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I mean, oh my God, I literally...
And she cried at the end.
I didn't cry, but I'm quite an emotional person, and I got quite a shiver up my spine when I saw it, because I felt exactly what that meant to her in her moment. And we don't know anything more than Ingrid's story or anyone else's story, but to anyone, that's a rope climb. And in itself, it's pretty tough. Yeah. But actually, there's probably a much bigger story to that rope climb. Lots of people would have climbed a lot more, to get there and go to the gym to then be able to obviously do that rope climb. And I learned in the first year of joining New Wave how many individuals were at New Wave doing fitness for a specific reason. Something that had happened in their lives.
Oh, I see.
So the first one, I won't say any names at this point, but the first one was one of the ladies who I'd started to speak to at the sessions, didn't confide in me, told me that she was going through a separation and a divorce. And she was living that, right then, that was her reality, 2 young children, and she was going through a divorce. And that's her going to New Wave was almost giving her some sort of sanity and saving her at the moment, because she was going through that. And then a variety of things I've gone through, people having depression or self-harming or stuff like that, real serious cases. I've had some down moments. I can't say dark, because I don't think saying dark is right. I think that would be unfair, but just some down moments. I think it's just interesting. Everyone had their reasons to be there.
Yeah, when I first walked in there, I knew I had a career as a personal trainer before, but then had 5 years break of fitness pretty much, and became a young dad, and I just let myself go so bad. Yeah. I was so overweight, but I could still move. But even when I moved, my body was not reacting to it. And I pretty much set myself a reputation of always desperately trying to keep up.
Oh, you were a nutcase.
Yeah, but going out so hot and killing myself within 30 seconds.
We call it, we did call it the Rupert.
Yeah.
How many rounds have we got? Okay, how many calories you've got? Okay, right, so you start off steady. Yeah. And then Rupert...
It's just go out hot.
Be on the assault bike, dying on the first round. But my first thoughts of you were... you were never hugely overweight, as in not obese, but
it's hard to see when you look back at it now. You'd be quite blown away.
Well, I think you've documented some things where you're 110 kilos?
110, 15 kilos.
Yeah. Right, so that is heavy for you. That is heavy for you. But I remember you coming in and being this is genuinely, we've never spoken about this, genuinely what I used to think. 1, that guy's pretty strong. 2, he absolutely will run through the wall in this session and looks like he's absolutely FUCKED'd at the end of it. Yeah. And I remember thinking God, he's getting it. I mean, if you got leaner and then you did get yourself really lean, you'd be an absolute animal in there. But you absolutely nailed every single workout.
Well, I remember, so my friend told me to come down. I joined, I was very overweight, but I just knew that it was that time. And sometimes that's what I talk about when I'm you need to find your why, or you need to find that tipping point. Yeah. And for me, it was that tipping point where I was I just need to sign up for this. I'd come through, I didn't do a taster, I literally dropped in to do a drop-in session with my mate, and Fraser said it was okay because my mate and I had been a PT before, so he was like, well, this guy's not going to break an arm, hopefully.
No.
And then he didn't even sell to me. I literally just went up to him afterwards and was like, right, how do I sign up?
Yeah.
Like, I need to do this. And that first year, I mean, 2 years, even maybe longer, 3 years, I kind of got it. Then I had a bit of a change, and then I still was struggling with drinking, and I couldn't stop drinking. And even though I'd give myself all of it at CrossFit, I'd still then just undo all of my hard work during the week. And back to that first bit though, I remember on my first session.
When was it?
Nick,
When did you join?
It was just around then, 2018 as well, I think.
Oh, it was November 2018.
Nick and Hope and somebody else came running through the door. Nick's got his top off.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm not sure about this. That was before the class started.
Right.
And I even was like, oh, Rob, I'm really not sure about this, mate. Like, we could go now. And the difference is that, like, you know, I stuck with it. And one of my other mates who came for that taster just couldn't find the time, couldn't find the money for it. Yeah. But I'm so glad, because even now, fast forward like a few years of doing trying to do good CrossFit, getting involved. And then now I'm making it like, it's my North Star. Like, it is changing all of my directions and horizons. I'm like, just going back to the career I was doing before. I'm now starting full-time as a PT. But I would always keep my CrossFit, and I'll always keep CrossFit. You know, it's like a place where I just love to go, be there, and it helps me. And I'm the same. Like, I'm equally, like, I'm okay with my food at the moment-ish. I'm okay with like my fitness. Yeah. But then I push that. So then I also push it to be like, right, you don't need to go to the gym today because it's, you know, you're okay. You've got a shitload of family stuff to do, and you've got a shitload of work to do, or film a podcast. But then if I don't go, then the next day something will come up. I'll have a meeting in London, and then the next day I'll have another meeting somewhere else. And then I'll be like, right, you haven't trained for 3 days. And it is that 3 day point.
You feel it as well.
Oh, I feel it massively. Sometimes I do overtrain. I'm not going to lie. I have gone through phases of overtraining and lack of fueling as well. So a lot of guys out there, like I met another client today, he's doing like karate 3 times a week and then trying to do CrossFit 3 times a week with 2 kids and a very tight job and a promotion. And I'm like, mate, simplest thing I'm going to recommend to you is you got to cut one of those out. You know, so again, some of my things I'm learning is that as much as we need exercise for mental health, which we do, and we need exercise, I'm also saying that sometimes the hardest bits we find is being good to ourselves. Even then, because we're so competitive, we're like, well, I must, you know, I've got to do this and I've got to do that.
I wish I wasn't so obsessed over it sometimes. Well, I wish I didn't give a shit, but I know if I didn't give a shit, I'd be eating crisps all the time.
Kettle chips.
I don't really drink alcohol, like, at all.
So you're going to get this muscle up then? I think you're going to get this muscle up. How long have we got to your birthday?
Next July.
Oh, right, we've got ages. You're very close as well.
Well, I've kind of put that to one side because...
Oh, yes, tell us about this big thing,
So I'm going to
tell everyone.
So I'm going to do Hyrox.
Which is, what is Hyrox?
So Hyrox, I'd heard about...
He doesn't work for Hyrox, by the way.
I'd heard about the whole fad of Hyrox, and then a few people did it, and I was like, okay, I'll look into it a bit more, and it's quite up my street because it's 8 1-kilometre runs with a sort of a workout in between each run. So you run for a kilometre, then do a 1,000-metre ski, then you run for a kilometre, then you push a weighted sled, run for a kilometre, pull a sled. Wall balls, lunges, farmer carries, burpee ball jumps.
I love
and it's a set workout. It's a set workout, it never changes. It's like a marathon. So there's, you know, world record times for it. It's held all over the world. And so back in May, I just thought, right, I'm going to do it because I need a direction and I need a reason to train. So this is me. Literally in May, I'm like, right, I'm going to do it. Who should I ask to pair? I'd like to pair with someone. I don't think the relay is great because you don't do a lot of the work, and on your own is pretty daunting at the moment. So I thought I'd pair with someone. So I asked a couple of people. I knew they weren't that keen because they don't like running. And then Barry Fleming said, yeah, I'll do it with you. I was like, okay, good, because that's going to make me really accountable, like properly accountable. So Barry and I are doing it together. But in May, I'm going, right, I weighed myself. Like, that's my weight right now. And I knew that I was 83.5 kilos, all right? I'm 5'11", 83.5 kilos. For me and my build, that is a little bit too heavy, right? I don't enjoy being at that weight. So I weighed myself, I entered the competition, and then I decided what I was going to do training wise, and I could never do open gym. I'd go into open gym and like literally have no idea what I was going to do. But I then started to write my own workouts and stuff like that because I used the Hyrox theme to help me. So I did a lot of open gym, probably only been doing 1 class a week, maybe 2. And then I've weighed myself. I've tried to be good with my diet, and all gearing up to doing Hyrox on the 25th of November at London XL. And I need that. I had 6 months, get really, really fit, eat well, drop a few kilos, do this event. And then after it, I'll either have loved it and I want to do another one, or just keep the training going because I've enjoyed the training, because I like cardio stuff more than throwing a bar around.
That's just because you're really good at cardio stuff.
Yeah,
I'm not going to blame you, but a secret story is that part of the reason why I think I've got no meniscus left is because I tried to do that throwdown. I can't remember how long ago. I think it was 4 years ago. There was the throwdown. I went with Ed. I can't remember who you were.
A few years ago, me and David.
Yeah, and I went in the first round, the box jump's over, and I just thought, whatever I got to do, I've got to set a time to like, and I was like, whatever I got to do, I've got to beat Craig. And I would set a time, and then I went and watched you, and you did this insane tennis sidestep over the box.
Yeah, no, I remember.
And your time was like 30 seconds faster than us. And anyway, after that, and then the run at the end, which nearly killed me in the skipping. No, I'm only joking. My knee blew up, but I think it's just bad form. But no, I remember that day. It was really...
I just need that direction. And then after Hyrox end of November, I don't know. I'll either do another one or I'll be like, right, it's muscle up now. Because I'm getting it with the orange band. Had some help from some of the coaches. I think body weight being just down a little bit as well will only help with that. So then that needs to happen before my 50th next July. I've already started to plan my celebrations of all sorts.
Okay. Fun times.
Yeah.
Well, I think muscle up will be good to see, and then we can insert a clip onto this next year.
Well, there's my accountability right there.
Yeah, good. Yeah, because I think David was also giving me accountability to doing handstand walks.
See handstand walks, and actually one of the things I haven't said, that second time I went to New Wave, probably still more nervous than the first time. I've got there quite early, and I've gone into the gym, there's no one there, and I've gone behind the glass, and there's a guy in there, Lee Neal.
Oh, Lee Neal, isn't it? I think about it.
So Lee, there's this guy walking up and down the gym on his hands, and I was like, what the hell is that? Because I didn't know what different things CrossFit was. Like, what the hell is this? He's literally walking lengths of the gym on his hands, and I was just blown away by it. But I haven't done any handstand walks. David's got his handstands. Yeah. I get a lot of tension through my neck. Like masses of tension through my neck and traps.
Today,
I saw that, which is why I just did an open gym and I didn't do CrossFit, because I won't do handstand stuff, because the tension it puts through my neck, I will be in agony for days. David knocks out those handstand push-ups well, and I remember him in lockdown. Yeah. I remember that video of him at home doing them up his wall with his 2 dogs licking his face.
I hope I can find that clip.
Try and find it on his social media. David doing handstand push-ups on his wall at home with his dogs licking his face. It's hilarious. But David does them well. He'll get his handstand walk. He is an inspiration to me as well, David, like massively.
I think we all have secret inspirations.
Massively, and also just like as a human being, just like one of the nicest guys I've ever met. But I love teaming up with him. But I've literally, because of this job, I've had to turn him down now 3 times to partner him for Halloween Throwdown, anniversary. Couldn't do summer social with him either. Yeah. There was another one. And I've literally had to say no because they've all fallen when I'm abroad, which is really annoying because I enjoy them. But yeah.
Well, athletics, also, sorry, that's the other thing we should try then. So I've heard, the one thing about Hyrox, to go back to, is that it's also like one and done. You're like in, you do your slot and you're out. Whereas a lot of these CrossFit competitions are like all day, and there's blocks and there's waiting around, there's warming up, there's cooling down. You're not more likely to catch an injury, but when you get a bit older, warming up and cooling down isn't great.
And it takes the whole day out.
Yeah, and it takes the whole day out.
So with this, obviously, I'm going to be out on this Saturday away from my wife and kids, but I am dreading an 8:30 slot. Because if I've got the 8:30 slot, I've got to be up at 6.
Yeah.
And eat well, eaten and fueled, and then I've got to get round to.
I think you need to be up at 5
to excel. Oh no, no, not with kids, not with 2 kids. No, but I've got to get round to the excel, and then you're right. Probably has got to be, and I've got to be ready to go at 8:30, and then I'll be done by 10, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then probably hang around for a little
and
bit,
then you'll be back down
and then I'll be back home down
swings.
pushing my little one on the swings at 1.
I love it. Well, hopefully I'll be able to come and watch if I'm around. When is it?
25th of November.
Oh wow, okay, proper
Saturday.
It's going to be a real buzz though. I'd like
I'm hoping my mum and dad are going to come, because that's one of the other things is sort of older now. Mum and dad are in their mid-70s, and I just thought it'd be nice if they come along as well and watch, just because I'm still a boy that wants the support of his parents, and it's just why not have them there and have their support? So I have asked them, and they're up for it as long as I'm not on at 8:30. They won't make that.
No. Well, look, thanks for talking to us today and sharing a bit of your story and everything you do.
You're welcome.
I'm sure we'll obviously do this again, because I see now what's happened now is you found the golden podcast window, which is right around about an hour.
Yeah.
Everything just suddenly, you remember all these other stories, everybody suddenly relaxes, and then and then you suddenly just start coming out with, and it's a completely different vibe, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's funny, isn't it? I quite enjoy. I enjoy chatting about a subject that I know. Yeah. So one, I know myself, and two, I know my work and my field. I know my family, and I know what my fitness needs are. So quite enjoy actually talking about it. I find it quite therapeutic just talking about it, because I feel quite positive now even about it, because I know I'm doing something that's.
Yeah, and look, I was stuck on a sofa during lockdown. I didn't react very well to lockdown training. It didn't do anything for me.
No.
I did end up training, I think, with Jordan towards the end of it.
Yeah.
But I'd already done so much damage, I nearly damaged it, and then that still had effects afterwards, it brought out a real bad side of my ADHD, it brought out a real dark side of my drinking. I was unable to get dopamine from seeing people and being around people, and I wouldn't know what to do. And I wasn't like a bad drunk, I would just self-medicate. So I would just sit there. And so now doing things like this podcast is like going to an AA meeting for me. But it's also because all I hope, right, and is that one person watches it and says hey, you know what, I decided to go to the gym today because I heard you and Craig talking, or I decided to get some tennis lessons. Oh gosh, didn't even get to talk to you about the freaking craze that's taking over South Africa.
Pickleball. Pickleball's mad. It's gone mad in America.
But
it's only designed for people that can't move on a tennis court anymore and in their 70s.
Oh, okay. And I thought it was for people that lacked skills.
No,
like squash.
Absolutely. So I did some travelling down in East Kent, Margate, Broadstairs, Ramsgate way, to view a load of clubs and meet them coaches. And most of the clubs that I went to had pickleball set up with people in their 70s playing pickleball, because they don't have to run.
Because the ball's allowed to bounce back to you?
Well, it's slow. It's slow.
Why is
the court's tiny because it's a ball full of air. Like a golf ball that you could hit in the garden that's got holes in it.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's hollow. It's got full of air. It's light.
Yeah.
It's no strings. It's a bat. It's a paddle.
Yeah.
The court is small, really small. The court is no bigger than this room, and so you don't have to run. Right. And so they get to play tennis and have some activity, but it's taken off, and there's a pro bloody tour on it. And it's gone but mad.
There is also racquetball, or the one in a cage.
No, it's paddle.
So
paddle is massive in Europe, in Spain, and it's massive, and it's now huge in England. And the LTA, the Lawn Tennis Association, have actually now associated themselves with paddle as well.
So paddle is like squash. You can hit it off the back.
You hit it off. Yeah, you can hit it off the back. You're playing in glass walls around you and a net. Yeah. The ball can bounce out.
Wow.
Of the court, and you can go out and get it before it bounces.
Yeah, I saw that one on Instagram.
Yeah,
the guy when he runs out through the door.
So paddle, you can do that.
And but you're obviously going to have. I mean, really briefly, because the word that one of the cameras will explode. You're obviously going to have a lot more chances of knee twisting injury. No, or is it?
Yeah. There's probably a bit more twisting. There's a bit of communication, twisting and turning. Any multi-directional sports any racket sports,
Right.
there's a risk of that.
Sure.
Of course, there is a risk of that. But a game of tennis might be quite hard to get a sweat up. If you haven't played tennis before, or played a racket sport before, and you try and play tennis, okay, it's challenging, of course it is, but it's to get something out of tennis physically, got to be able to have some sort of competency. Whereas hitting the ball against a wall in a caged area, like racquetball, for example, which is a better version of squash for people that aren't going to be as good as squash, they're going to get a fitness like workout from it, because the rallies will at least continue on for a bit.
I want to go try it, because the thing about tennis for me, sorry, not that I went to quite a good little school, and we had tennis courts, and like there was tennis, and I did tennis for a bit, like, and I mean, I'm not going to diss the coaches, right? I had ADHD, I was a wild kid, and I had no control.
Yeah.
So as soon as the tennis ball came to me, I just whacked that fucking thing so hard.
Well, I've coached 2 kids. I've coached 2 kids over the years that I know of with ADHD, and one more recently.
Yeah. And so after that, I just walked away. I was like, "This. If I couldn't get a rally going, which was so hard, I would be bored out of my mind."
Trying to get this lad to conform to a drill that's been prescribed and show discipline and a level of attention and concentration, very, very, very difficult. And after all those tests that kept coming back negative, they finally diagnosed him with ADHD and Asperger's.
Oh wow!
But it took ages. It kept coming back as negative.
Really?
But we knew, and his parents knew there was, something not it wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
So,
well, I had lots of tests for dyslexia, and even now I catch myself doing it. Like I was in a meeting the other day. 2 things. One, I was writing, and my boss was like, "What's up with your handwriting?" And I was like, but luckily her partner had ADHD and autism. She's like, she didn't see it as like, wow, your handwriting's really messy or bad. She was like, and I was like, I've got ADHD. And she was like, yeah, I know, I can tell from your writing. Because it's like 4 different people writing.
Right.
And my handwriting has 4 different styles in it.
Oh, really?
I'll put capital letters in the middle of sentences.
Oh.
And like different words are written in different
Yeah,
ways.
yeah.
And then also, the reason why that led to dyslexia was because I would put the wrong letters in the wrong order.
Yeah.
But that is because my brain is going faster than the writing of the word. So I'll start the word sometimes with a letter that's in the middle.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Then, it's so bizarre.
It is
so
crazy.
then I would constantly not be dyslexic because I wasn't doing the classic dyslexic characteristics. But yeah, they didn't catch it for me for years. I only got diagnosed when I eventually, after lockdown, realised that there was something more to it than just addiction and alcoholism. There were some other things that were causing like this massive.
Well, I was going
complexity.
to. I mean, you can obviously edit this if you like.
Yeah, I can
but
try.
there was one last story, obviously it's about you.
Oh, about me. Okay.
Because as I said, because you've spoken about it already.
Yeah, sure.
So I can now speak about it from my perspective of you always being this person down the gym who always was full of energy, Mr. Sociable, spoke to anyone, always had a laugh. That's all. I wouldn't have thought of anything other than that. Quite a vibrant personality. And then one day, it was during the Open, and I was doing the Open, and it might have been 2020, it might have been 2021. Yeah, it might have been 2021, and I'm doing 21.2 or something, or it was 22. It might have even been last year. I can't remember. You'll know better. Anyway, and you've come down in your jeans and casual wear, and you'd put on weight at some point, and you'd come down just to literally just to be there. And I said to you, "How comes you're not doing it?" And you went, "No, it's not the right time for me to be doing it." But you came down in your jeans and you wanted to come and score, and you wanted to kind of just be around it, and you were there supporting like everyone. And then you said to me, "Oh, by the way, you might just think that I'm this really like lively, loud character, but actually, in reality, I'm going through like a pretty tough time, and that's a bit of a facade actually at the moment for to hide like what I've been feeling." You literally just came out and said it when I'm doing the Open, and it took me by surprise. But the point is that you needed to be there. And you needed to feed off of the energy of other people. And you weren't in a position to want to do the fitness yourself. But you needed to be there. And you went and brought the energy for everyone else. But you literally, it wasn't even prompted. You obviously just felt the need
Well, I
to
trusted
tell
you.
people.
Yeah, but I also trusted you, like you and David. You
Well,
were
I
like,
messaged David immediately.
Yeah, and you messaged
told
me
him
afterwards. Yeah.
told him that because I wasn't going to be around. I was like, in the next 3 days, can you arrange to have a
thank you
coffee with Rupert? Because like I wasn't going to be around. But it was like it left me a bit like, ooh, okay, I feel like he's reached out there.
Yeah.
Because then you went on and got on with what you're doing, But I'm saying I think the point is that if someone is really like struggling with something and they're not talking to someone, it doesn't have to like the idea of going and seeing a therapist or going to your doctor. Because for me to go and see that therapist, I had to go to my doctor. It took me 6 months to a year to go to my doctor.
Wow.
Before because I just thought I could deal with it.
Sure.
Because it wasn't always like, bad. But there was enough going on with my character and personality that wasn't right. So, but not everyone maybe is going to think, oh, I want to go to the doctor or do that. But like, and you obviously did because you got things tested and what have you. But sometimes it could just be find that mate or someone that you just feel like you could just share with. Because I reckon the moment you let people know at New Wave, me, David, or whoever, probably helped you just to like say it. So then like I've shared it with someone.
I mean, to fast forward a bit of that story as well, to like I had a full-on mental breakdown after that. So then I got it together for a bit. I had a full-on mental breakdown linked to an alcoholic episode, was unable to leave the house for drinking and you would never have guessed because I'd still then be able to go do CrossFit the week later. But I ended up quitting my job because I didn't know how to deal with all of that correctly. And you know what, like again, how New Wave saved me. I needed to do something. I needed to keep my hands busy and do something. And Fraser said his uncle, did I want to help clear some land at the back of the gym?
I saw you doing that.
And I love doing stuff with my hands. It really keeps my ADHD under control and it helps me stay centered. And you know what, I just dived in for that and helped him and his uncle out build that decking seating area. But I mean, again, like something about, I know it's not always about CrossFit, but it really is about like the way that community, it can be more than just the workouts. It can be like
way more.
Yeah. The place to like, for somebody to start rebuilding their life, to start like saying that they want to become a coach or saying they want to do this. But by starting, for me, I stripped it down to the very basics of, I just needed to combat mental health by doing something, being around somebody that was older than me, being somebody around, I get like, without going, now we're going to run out of time, but without going way off tangent into like, perhaps needing a bit more of a father figure or just somebody a bit more stable around you.
David's our father.
Yeah.
Don't David, sorry.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
But also me and Murray would talk rubbish building all day. Like we would just we'd talk about vaccines, we'd talk about the government, we'd listen to pop quiz. And I needed that stability and routine again back in my life to help me figure out what I was going to do. And building that deck is still one of the fondest memories I have. But I
remember seeing you down there.
Yeah, I do. And it's because I wanted just to be around you guys. And I do totally remember that when that opening, I had the deadlifts in the middle. And I couldn't do the deadlift workout. I just couldn't bring myself to come down. I put myself under so much pressure with my mental health that I couldn't even take part because I wouldn't. Just something was wrong.
Yeah, I know, and it wasn't a physical. You weren't injured.
No,
you said
I wasn't very good.
I can't. Yeah, I'm not doing it right now.
Yeah.
Whereas you had that workout. You physically had that workoat.
Oh yeah, it was one I could probably do.
Yeah, I mean 100 kilo deadlift and burpee over it. Okay, you might have run out a bit of steam at some point, but yeah, you had that workout. But something up here was telling you right now I can't bring myself to have to do that. And I mean, it's brought out like another. Should we make this a last story?
Yeah, sure.
It's the last one, but so what very few people know. My really good friend Mia, like I know you're grateful for like me helping you with stuff, but you've been fantastic for me as well. That last year in March, I came down to do the Open. On the Friday, and I'd never done a Friday Night Lights. And on that day in the morning, my wife and I found out that she just had a miscarriage, which was her third miscarriage in 4 pregnancies. Wow. So we have 2 children, but my wife's been pregnant 5 times. And we've lost 3 children at 8 to 10 weeks each time. But we thought everything was fine. But last March, on that Friday Night Lights, in the morning, we'd had a scan and been told that we'd lost the baby. And again, through her support, I still went that evening. I went down, had my hood up. I was fucking all over the place, absolutely all over the place. But I knew I needed to do this workout. And I needed someone to know that what happened. So I told Mia during the day, bless her, she came down, gave me a hug when I was doing my warm up. And then I actually ended up telling a couple of other people because they actually, I really felt bad for them, but they commented why I was in such a bad mood. And I then had to tell them, and obviously they felt a bit like shit at first, but I was like, it's not your fault. But it's better that I just tell you this is what's happened today. Yeah. But again, my wife, like saying to me, like, no, you need to go and do it. What good are you going to be just at home? Go and do it. And I'd already done, I wanted to complete the open. And I think it was the last workout of it. And I did complete it. And I RX'd all of them, which I was so like proud of. But I went and did that on a day when I probably was, well, one of my darkest days. I mean, it was the 3rd miscarriage we'd had, but I think the first one was relatively painful. The second one was the third was like really, really tough. So, and that's a whole other subject about mental health. And I do speak about this quite a lot, and I think I could probably do more about fathers and going through that loss. And everyone will look at me now. A lady only last week said, oh, you've got 2 beautiful children, you're very lucky. I almost then wanted to say, you're right, I absolutely know how lucky we are. And that's why, because I don't know what other battle other people are facing, but they could look at us and go, wow, that guy's got it sorted. He travels the world, he's coaching a elite athlete, he's got 2 lovely children, he's married, he's got a nice house. It's got everything. But what you don't know is the heartache it took to get those 2 children. Wow. and that journey. But I just thought I'd just throw that in there because I've only just remembered that that's what happened last year, like during the Open, and I had a choice, like to sulk and cry at home or go and do a workout, and I did the workout, and I nailed it.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's quite a big one. That's quite a deep
that
one
was
to
a
finish
deep one,
with,
and then
I'm
we
sorry,
both,
but like I think we've both gone a bit deep on stuff there. But I think
really
it's only right that I share.
Yeah,
I should share some of my like sort of challenges as you have with you.
I think that's it. It's sharing strength and hope, and it's sharing like part of the rooms or whatever which they're called is a big part of that, is sharing and understanding when to share. But also, like, I think to kind of recap a little bit what we said is that whether it's a coach or a class or a community, and even Elliot speaks about this as well in his podcast, and I'm not going to try and remember the 3 things he was saying it, but one of the key parts of that is feeling like you're in a group and you'll be able to train amongst other people, because you just break down otherwise if you try and do something on your own and you're removed from your environment. And like, especially
like row the Atlantic
on
your own.
no yeah, I mean that is but yeah, I think when you're stuck at home and you're in a depression and you can't get out of it, the last thing you want to do is be around people. But as soon as you come down and you start talking and you start sharing something, whether it is sharing it with a coach or sharing it with someone on a run, or I had another guy saying, even if you're just going walking the dogs and you're taking pictures, that's still your activity, that's your exercise, and make that your sport, make it your thing. Not all sport has to be competitive or be like something where it's like formalized.
No, I know. I think I've had many conversations on that sofa at New Wave waiting for the next class where I've found out more about people that I'm about to go and train with, and I said earlier about their reasons for being there. My wife and I went on yoga retreats for 3 years, and on this yoga retreat, it was all about well-being as well. There was a bench, and the bench was specifically to sit at if you needed to talk to someone.
Right.
And it was there. I can't remember how it was named.
Yeah.
But if anyone was seen sitting on that bench on their own or whatever, it was because they wanted to talk about something.
Right.
And I feel like Like that's definitely for me. Not as much recently.
Did anyone sit on the bench?
I couldn't tell you.
Because you didn't. Because you didn't want to.
I didn't at the time. Didn't need to. But I just remember. I thought, what a lovely idea. There are 300 people here. 6 men, 294 ladies. Here on a yoga fit retreat where there's a well-being and everything, and I was like loving the yoga.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of single ladies there gone through divorce and whatever else, and there was a lot of tears during the week because it was an amazing week for them to. But this bench was for you to sit at if you needed to talk to someone. Either one of the coaches would see you there and you'd go and sit there, or you'd already see them sitting there with a friend.
Amazing.
But I just thought it was quite a nice idea.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time today. Thank you for everything.
Cheers.
I thought you were going to say about the bench. I thought you were going to make it like say nobody sat and talked about it.
No,
I couldn't. Only at CrossFit do people talk.
Yeah.
But no, I get where you're going with that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything.
Cheers, Rupert.
And it's lovely to talk. See you all next time. There'll be more of these coming out. Please do like, follow, and subscribe. Classically, I didn't realise that. If you don't. If you don't have a Google account, YouTube doesn't let you subscribe or something like that.
All right.
So that's why it's easy for someone to like something on Instagram, but like it on YouTube, it's a lot more complicated. But yeah, anyway, keep it alive. Let's keep the conversation going, and I'll speak to you next time. Thank you very much.